I'm LeRoy with Viking Sports. I'm the co-owner and CEO of the company. As a company, I've been a part of it since 2007, bought it in 2011, and we're based in Brookline. And we just like bringing positive experiences to families, kids, communities, and that's what we're all about. So I think sports is universal. Like parents will register their child for a program or a camp or an event or something like that, and they'll say, just so you know, little Billy has, I'm like, doesn't matter. It's like what we're doing right now doesn't matter. As long as little Billy knows how to find fun in anything, they will fit in just fine here at Viking Sports. I have inclusion people, I have people who speak multi-languages, I have people who are good at modeling different behaviors and examples and that kind of stuff. And so I go into some of these communities where maybe Spanish is the dominant language. I'll just go in with some cones and some balls and a couple of Viking coaches, and I'll be like, okay, and I'll just start playing with my coaches, and the kids just follow suit. And then before you know it, you have the parents playing and everyone's just having a grand old time. Nothing's being said, just lots of laughs, because laughs is universal, lots of smiling, because smiling is a universal language, and it just becomes this really positive gathering. And it's one of those things that if you can make it big enough and enough people are impacted, they'll have the experience and then they'll tell their friends, and then the experience sort of like pays it forward in different ways. I was a kid, two parents, couple brothers and a sister. So my dad's an attorney, and he was very gung-ho and set on just me going to school, going to graduate school, getting a job, working up the corporate ladder, retiring when I'm like 70, and going that route. So that was brainwashed into me at a very, very young age. So when I got to Northeastern and I saw that there was this like other world of possibly owning your own business and being your own boss and taking an idea that you have in your brain and seeing that through to fruition, like I didn't know what to do with it. And so I'm not from Massachusetts, I'm from New Jersey. There weren't a lot of examples of people who had their own businesses, like people of color have their own businesses that can just be like, how'd you do that? But one guy did. One guy, the barber that I went to on Mass Ave, Bernard, he had he owned his own barbershop. I would go in there and I would just ask him all these business questions like, how'd you get the money to buy these chairs? Is it hard like hiring these people? Like, where do you find your barbers? And just asking him tons and tons of questions about it, just because like I was genuinely curious. When I graduated from Northeastern and I started my first company called My Bike, I couldn't find another him, and I was really thirsty, or I had no guidance. I didn't know where to go, what to do. So one of my friends just steered me in the direction of like Mission Hill Main Street. So I lived right in Mission Hill, right over there. Mission Hill Main Street, there was this group of individuals who own their own businesses who could like be mentors and that kind of stuff. But being someone like myself, I was young, I was 24 when I first started my first company. I would go to all these like roundtables and discussions and entrepreneurial meetups. I was like the only person of color like at the table. And at first it was really, really uncomfortable. Cause yeah, like I look young, like right now, I'm almost 42. But when I was 24, I was like 16. I look like a young guy. It was just very uncomfortable just not being treated with the respect and just like having people go through the same battles I was going through. That was really, really tough. And so I would say that would be one of those adversity things that happened when I first started my first company. I was going into the world of entrepreneurship. So anyone starting out, I would tell them now there are more examples of people like myself who have started businesses, developed businesses, leading businesses, who are resources that can help give you a couple steps head start when you start your own company. So after I graduated from Northeastern, I did this really intense training program where I had to knock on doors. And I was knocking on doors for 7 hours a day in southern New Hampshire, northern Massachusetts, in communities where me, the only black guy walking around at nighttime, in my head psychologically was looked at as being like a negative thing. So I would knock on a door, unsuspecting family, have no idea who's knocking, and I would try to sell them like a Papa John's coupon. So doing that and having those internal thoughts in my head and preconceived notions about what they might think and that kind of stuff, over time sort of left my thought process. And instead of me being concerned what they think, that became not something that I thought about in my organic process to talking to somebody. So my concern is like, me being a person of color, it's not my problem, that's your problem to get over. So I probably, if there was like a twin next to me who could see things through a different lens, there are probably a lot of situations where me having a dark skin color probably would pose a challenge. But if there's a challenge and it might be because of my skin, I don't see it that way, and I'll just move on to another solution, or I'll just figure a way around it. So in Brookline, though there's a significant amount of wealth in Brookline, there's also people who aren't as well off as like the brain surgeons and those people. And they have kids, and they have need experiences that are positive that ordinarily they wouldn't be able to afford or be able to attend. So I intentionally try to go into all communities in Brookline, everywhere we operate, to make sure that those kids who wouldn't ordinarily be able to like make it to the Viking Activity Center where we are today, or make it to my camp in Baker School and play my bounce house and experience my coach and have that kind of experience, I go to them to sort of show that I care and I want them to experience this. And we're all about just helping everyone in the community out. Like, we'll try to do events with, like, there was a Cinco de Mayo event that we were a part of. And that kind of stuff that involves cultures coming together and just highlights diversity. Like, I want to be in the middle of all that stuff so I could bring people who maybe are outside that bubble into that bubble. Like, this is a really cool experience. I really like what this is all about. Thank you for showing this to me. And so being the guy at the top of the Viking pyramid, I guess, is my job to not shelter the Viking team and not like segment my customers, but just to get everyone to have as immersive an experience as possible, and to break barriers and to get people together and to really rally around just like fun and positive stuff. I think one thing that we could do, during COVID, I think one of the things that sort of came up was inequities and inequality and access to certain things. And that was something that probably wasn't on a lot of people's radar. And it jumped up on my radar. And one of the things that maybe Viking could do to sort of address inequality is to be a little bit more intentional with the staff that we have being diverse, and also highlighting more of the partnerships that we have with people. Like, we work with the Home for Little Wanderers to have kids come to Viking Sports, and we work with foster care homes to get those kids into like a positive situation with Viking Sports. We try to do things with like people who have intellectual and physical disabilities, just to get them more in the fold and to show that we can and we do, and we want to be there for everybody. So being intentional with our marketing and our communication to the public is probably one thing that Viking could do a better job of doing to sort of discuss inequalities and to sort of level the playing field for more people. Even though Viking's been around in Brookline since 1993, like the longer we're around, the more we just want to help people, and we want to help kids, and we want to help families, and we really want to be a really large community player. Like, building the Brookline community is of the utmost importance to me personally, and by extension Viking Sports. Like, I'm on the Brookline Chamber of Commerce. I'm on the Small Business Committee for the town of Brookline, because I care very much about sharing the resources that we have and trying to turn that into positive experiences for other people.